beautiful people, what is up and welcome back to my channel and welcome to another first impressions video. I swear February and March have been just a crazy whirlwind of new releases that really piqued my interest from brands that I've never tried before. So today I'm going to be trying the brand new Wallflower palette from Lethal Cosmetics. But before we dive in, if this is your first time joining me, hi, welcome, I am Jamila and I love all things beauty. I love all things makeup, I love all things skincare, and I especially love sharing my tips and tricks for how to find high-end and luxury beauty products at bargain prices. If that sounds like something you are interested in, I would absolutely love if you would consider subscribing and joining the family. All right, so typical kind of way in which I like to do my first impressions is I'll give you guys a little bit of information about the palette, about the brand. I'll do some swatches, some live swatches on my arm, and then I will dive in. And I'm only going to give you guys one look today. If you are interested in seeing me do a couple more, I can do a separate video doing like 3 looks. But I wanted this to be a little quick and dirty, so let's just dive in. All right, so a little bit of background. Like I said, Lethal Cosmetics is a brand I've never tried before, so this is going to be my first time trying this eyeshadow formula. On their website, they do have a little bit of information about the brand, and this is actually a brand that's based in Germany. So it says that it launched in early 2017. So it's fairly new, and their whole background seems to be in ethical makeup. So cool beans. Now, this brand is cruelty-free and vegan as well. So if that is something that is important to you, you can go from there. So just a little bit about the palette. It is called the Nightflower palette. It comes in this sleeve that's identical to the palette itself. And on the back of the sleeve, you actually have all of the shadow names and a little bit of information on the ingredients for the palette. So like I said, cruelty-free and vegan. The shelf life of this palette is 24 months and it was made in Germany. So you can purchase this palette either from the Lethal Cosmetics website or from Camera Ready Cosmetics for $50. The biggest difference between both of these is that if you buy from Lethal, you don't have to pay tax because it is, like I said, a brand that's based in Germany. If you buy it from Camera Ready Cosmetics, that is technically US based, so you will pay tax on that product. Also, just double check with your bank in case you get charged a foreign transaction fee for shopping on the Lethal website. Either way, $50 is $50 is the price of this palette. There are a couple of creators who have affiliate codes with the brand, like Teresa is Dead. So if you use her code garbage, you'll get 10% off on both the Lethal and the Camera Ready Cosmetics website. However, if you do decide to shop from the Lethal website and you use the code Amanda for the month of March, you'll be able to get 20% off. So that's a much better deal. And last thing that I want to point out is that this is technically sold out on both Camera Ready Cosmetics and on Lethal, but you can do a pre-order, which means it's just going to ship a little bit later. Anyways, let's dive into this beauty. So here we have the Lethal Cosmetics Nightflower palette. This is a 15-pan eyeshadow palette, and it says that it's inspired by the mystery and intrigue of the Nightflower. There are 6 mattes, 2 classic metallics, 1 duochrome, and 3 multichrome shadows. Overall, I don't think I'm super impressed with the packaging. It is a cardboard packaging, so it doesn't feel super luxe. I do like that it is quite thin, so it's really easy to store. And on the back of the packaging, you'll see these little holes here because it is a magnetic palette, so you can actually pop out these shades if you don't want to keep this palette and put it into your own palette. You do get a really nice mirror here as well, and underneath the mirror, it says, like a wildflower, grow in unexpected places. And there's a little bit of imagery on the palette. So that's kind of like the visuals. As you can see, this is a very purple heavy palette. It also does lean a little bit on the deeper, grungier side. And there are these 2 blue shades that kind of break up the purple feel of this palette. So like I said, let's dive into some swatches and then I'm gonna give you guys one quick eye look. I'm gonna go row by row. Here we have the first 4 shades. Allure, Moonbeam, Twilight, and Dahlia. Here we have the next 4 shades. Nox, Aurora, Lithophite, and Evenfall. And here we have the last 4 shades. Circadian, Wisteria, Night Long, oh that's pretty, and Midnight. So here we have all of the shades in the Lethal Cosmetics Nightflower palette. So the first shade, Allure, is definitely one of the multichromes. This shade here, which is, I believe, Evenfall, is also one of the multichromes. And then this blue shade, which is Aurora, might be a multichrome. And then we have this shade, Twilight, which might be the duochrome. It's kind of hard to tell because the multichrome shift is not very strong in any of these. With the exception of Allure. Allure has a very strong multichrome shift. Also, from swatching these, I found that the shimmers have a very flaky texture. They're very, very soft. So I feel like I might get a little bit of fallout from this. And the mattes are definitely felt like a little bit more on the powdery side than creamy. And they didn't swatch the best, but it's really all about the blendability and how they perform. So I'm not too worried about that. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to give you guys one look today, and I really think I want to dive into the purples in this palette, just because it is primarily a purple palette, and then I'll probably come back and do a follow-up video and give you guys 2 or 3 more looks. So come on in, let's dive into this look. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to go in with the shade Wisteria, which is a lavender purple. Ooh, there is a lot of kick up, so much kick up. And I'm going to use that as my first crease color. And just blend that into the crease as my transition shade. When you're using this shade, I would definitely advise that you tap gently into the pan and then tap your brush off, because there was a lot of kick up in the pan with this shade. But it's giving really, really nice pigment, and it's blending out really easily. Next, using that same brush, I'm going to go into this shade here, which is Dahlia. And I'm going to concentrate that into the inner part of the eye as a second transition color. This shade also has a ton of kick up. I don't know if it's because these are the lighter shades in the palette, but make sure you're tapping your brush very, very gently. It just seems like these shadows are quite soft and you have to be gentle with it, but they blend like a dream. It's gonna be such a quick look. So again, just concentrating that purple, which has a little bit of a nice pink tint to it, into that front half of the eye. Get a little bit more brightness. And then I'm blending that out into the first transition shade. You can see that that first transition shade has a cooler tone to it. It's a little bit on the gray side, so you can see the purple in there, but you can see that there's a little hint of gray as well.
Go and tell yourself that I'm the one.
I absolutely love how that blended. Then I'm going to go into this shade Midnight. It is a deep plum purple, and I'm going to use that to deepen up the outer V. Also getting a ton of kick up there, so just dipping my brush in ever so slightly, tapping it off. And I first like to start by stamping that color into the corner of the eye, and then blending it into the crease and into those first 2 shades that I laid down. can see there's a little bit of fallout right here.
running from me.
But this is blending like a dream. So Lethal Cosmetics is actually a brand that I have seen before. I know Teresa's that absolutely love them, and she has a collab with the brand, or had a collab with the brand. I don't think it's still around, but I know that this is one that she really, really likes. I feel like it's also one that she likes because it works really well on her lids. I know that she has very, very sensitive lids and has had reaction to a number of shadows before. So if you have like sensitive skin and other brands, their eyeshadow have irritated you, you might want to consider trying this one out. And so far, I'm kind of really impressed with the quality of the mattes, at least. I think they blend really easily. They don't seem to get quite muddy when you mix them together, and they are layering nicely on top of each other. I did think that this purple was a little bit deeper, but it's fine. I like this depth. Okay, I adjusted the lights a little bit, so I should look a little less yellow now. But there we have it. Next, let's apply some shimmer. So I'm gonna go in with the purple shade here. It's called Nox. This is a really, really beautiful, rich purple. I'm taking my Marc Jacobs crease brush, and I am gonna start by putting that in the center of the eyelid, and then blending it towards the midnight shade that I laid down. Okay. This is not quite picking up well with the brush. I'm sure you can probably go in with like wetting your brush, but I'm just gonna go in with my finger like I typically do when shadows don't apply well with a brush, and I'm gonna just apply that directly to the center of the lid. And what I like to do is just to go in with my finger, get the opacity that I need, and then go back in with a brush and blend everything together and clean things up. It doesn't bother me if shadows don't apply well with the brush. I have no problems going in with my finger. So there you can really see that purple on the lids. It is applying a lot smoother than I think it's swatched. But like I said, the shades here are very, very soft. So like, I feel like there's just so much kick up with everything and a lot of fallout. Like, I don't know if you guys can see all of the fallout from these shadows. But it's okay. It's okay. If you do your makeup first, you can, you know, just wipe that off and continue with your face. But if you do your makeup, if you do your base, if you do your eyes first, you can just wipe it off and then go on and do your base. But if you do your base first, I would say either lay down a little bit of setting powder so you can just brush any fallout away, or just be prepared to kind of like try and dust it off, or go over it with concealer to cover any fallout that you might have from the shadows. Okay, so I think that is the opacity that I want. I'm just gonna go in with the same brush that I tried to apply that shadow with and blend everything together, and this is blending really nicely into those matte shades. And then I'm gonna take a small Refa number 28 brush, and I'm gonna go into the shade Allure, which is one of the multichromes. Really beautiful multichrome, and this would actually make a perfect inner corner highlight, but I'm gonna put that in to the inner third of my eyes and blend that into the purple. This is super flaky, so to try to mitigate the fallout, or minimize the fallout I should say, I'm trying to stamp that in and then blend it into the eyelid. So really, really pressing that shade into the lid to try to get it to stick, and then blending it out. another strategy to help with the fallout would be to use like a glitter glue or a glitter primer to help the shade really stick to the lids. I don't like doing that. That's one step too much for me. So I'm just gonna apply these how I typically would any shadow. And you can see that this shade is pretty much turning purple as it blends into the purple, which I'm assuming is by virtue of like it being a duochrome. A lot of times duochromes will take on the color that is most prevalent in the eye look. And since this has purple and pink and a little bit of gold in there, it's gonna really pick up the purple and lean more purple on the eye. I don't mind though, I love a good purple eye. Okay, and this is pretty much the eye. Let me see if I can just easily dust this off. Okay. Yeah, so the fallout is dusting off really easily. I'm gonna go apply a little bit of liner, some mascara, finish up the waterline, and then come back and give you guys my first impressions, thoughts on the Lethal Nightflower palette. Okay guys, I'm back and this is the final look. For my lips, I went in with the Bobbi Brown lipstick. The Bobbi Brown lipstick in the shade Crushed Lip Color, and I topped it off with my Pat McGrath Flesh 6 lip gloss. Really beautiful combo. Let me bring you guys in a little bit closer so you can get a really nice and up close look at this eye. Oh wait, before we do that, let me just quickly show you guys. I went in with this shade and this shade for my waterline, and then I went in with the blue shade as my inner corner highlight. So come in a little bit closer, see this full look, and then I'm gonna give you guys my final first impressions, thoughts on this palette.
I can already see that you're changing shapes right in front of me while you're chasing faces, dancing yet so free, trying to reach your blessing right in front of me.
Okay, so my final thoughts. Overall, I'm really impressed with the Lethal formula. I feel like I went in with like very high expectations because I know some of the creators that I really love this formula. So I went in with high expectations, and for the most part they were met. One of my biggest issues with this palette though is the amount of fallout that I got. The shadows, especially the matte shadows, are so soft that even when you tap your brush into it very lightly, there's a ton of kick up in the pan. So you have to make sure you tap off your brush. Otherwise, once you start blending, you really start getting some fallout under the eyes. The shimmer shades are definitely a little bit more textured than some that I know, but I feel like they apply very smooth. So when you swatch them or when you dip your finger in, they are very creamy to the touch and very textured, so they crumble very easily, but they apply pretty smoothly onto the lid. I think that they have a really nice shine to them as well. They're not that satin shade and they're not super high metallic. They're that nice in between that I appreciate because I am not a huge fan of super metallic shades all of the time. I feel like it can be a bit much for me, and sometimes satin shades aren't necessarily what I'm going for. So this nice in between lane is where I'm very comfortable, and I think this gives me that exactly. I was a little bit disappointed by the shade Allure because I thought that it would have been a little bit lighter as a first half of the shade, but I feel like when I applied that, it kind of just went purple. Like this looks like just a purple lid, and you don't really see that multi-chrome flip from the shade Allure. I think that in order for me to see that, I would have to apply that on the lid by itself without mixing it into that purple shade. So I'm gonna have to play around with that to see if I can really get it to pop, because I do think that it swatches really nicely. Like it's a beautiful light shade that I think has a really nice purple to pink flip, but because it's so close to the purple shade that I applied, you really miss out on that and it just looks purple. The purple, absolutely love it. That purple shimmer is giving me what it needed to give. Next, I want to play around with the two blues to see how they perform, but overall, I'm quite happy with how the shades performed. So out of the 12 shades, there are 5 that I didn't use, and I definitely want to play around in them. I think that this is a solid purple palette. If you like purple eyeshadow, this is going to be a really nice palette for you. I kind of appreciate that they added some blues in here to make this a little bit more multi-dimensional and not just a monochromatic purple palette. And I like that there's significant depth in here. I wish that this shade showed up a little bit deeper on me than it does right now. No, it's not too bad. I can certainly use it to deepen up my eye, but I felt like in the pan it just looked a little bit richer than how it showed up on the eye. So I would have liked it to be just a little bit deeper, but overall I think all of these shades have a really nice depth for my complexion. This shade here, Moonbeam, is what I would consider a like buffing out shade. So it's not necessarily meant to be a transition color, especially not on my complexion. But it's one of those shades that you can use to lighten up the other shades in the palette if you need to, or blend out the edges if you think that they're a little bit too harsh. So in closing, for $50, I think this is a solid palette. I think that you get a nice mix of mattes, some multichromes, and I'm saying multichromes with like a lot of quotation marks because I feel like some brands can stretch what they call a multichrome or a duochrome, but you get some multichromes and you get some really high shine metallic shimmers. All of the shades that I applied today performed really, really well, and I'm definitely going to dig into this palette to make sure that I use every single shade and come back and give you guys a more updated sort of review of this palette. Because like I said, this is just my first impression thoughts, and so far, so good. Anyways, if you like this video, please go ahead and hit that like button. Leave a comment down below letting me know if you picked up this palette or if you are planning to pick it up or if you have already pre-ordered it. If you have not already done so, I would love if you would consider subscribing. I have so much content, so much new things that I've been trying for the past couple of weeks, and it's just been a really good time. I don't know how I've been putting out so much videos because Lordy. So, you know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe. As always, I love you guys. Thank you so much for hanging with me, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye!